Okay, are you guys ready? I'm so excited. I've got 4 of my fabulous team members here at Team CBR who are going to ask me all kinds of questions about intuition. And I know, Elizabeth, you were first going to ask me.
What is intuition?
So, my answer would be quite layered. I think in the past 30 plus years that I've been working as an intuitive, I've been doing readings and teaching workshops about intuition, etc. So I've really dove into this over the years. I've also obviously created a number of products, specifically tools to help navigate your intuition, which are, of course, oracle cards, and I have 15 of them now, 15 different decks sold worldwide. But the truth is that we are spiritual beings first, humans second. So our intuition is our first sense. It's the one that helps us navigate the periphery of the world. That means the things on the side, the invisible, the information that's not spoken, reading between the lines, feeling things out, the vibe that you get. This is not intellect. As a matter of fact, there was a really good book by, I can't remember who it was, but it said intuition is nonsense because it makes no sense, because it's not intellectual. It does not follow linear rules. It is not the same at all, but it is equally important. In order to navigate our world, we need both our intellect and our power of analytics, as well as that soft focus, the nuanced world of intuitive intelligence, where we recognize certain things that don't make any sense to us, but we know that they're true. And so this is why intuition is so important, especially now when we can't really rely on things staying certain very long. We're in a period of deep transition right now. So it's the time in our world where we have to really pay extra attention to our intuition, which can really help us navigate the arena that we can't see. And it's changing so rapidly. But intuition can track it. We can track anything with our intuition, not so much with our intellect. So the two need to go hand in hand.
So you just said that we need our intuition to navigate the world, right? So while we're navigating the world, how do we use our intuition to identify signs from the universe?
So you just made a point of saying from the universe. Well, that's the point, is the fact that we actually operate in a dynamic matrix where the universe, the consciousness of the universe is constantly speaking to us. Now, we've said, it's God, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it. There's a greater intelligence that our intuition enables us to speak to and communicate with. So that's really key that you brought that up. So how we use that is by something called deep listening. And we actually do it without knowing it. The thing is that we tend to ignore it, or we challenge it because our intellect starts to get involved. But when we have a sense of the world, this, and I say that it's a nuanced sense because it's soft. It's not like it's on sharp target all the time. It's a sense of, a little push here and like a lead here and a moment of clarity or a moment of an epiphany. And sometimes it can be like a thunderbolt because we automatically in that moment go, oh my gosh. But ultimately we get all these tiny little signs throughout the day because we're always in this constant dialogue with the universe, which is one of the reasons why I created oracle cards, because it facilitates the conversation. But the truth is that we're always in that conversation. And signs that you talked about, signs from the universe, is actually how the universe speaks to us. So these things are concentrated. They have a lexicon or a language concentrated with specific symbols and signs in it. But the world is filled with signs. We can walk out our door and all of a sudden a cardinal comes, like happened to Elizabeth, and shreds a hole in our screen to talk to us every day, which is about spirituality, right? It's that feminine, the divine feminine, right? It's fascinating. So we have to learn to recognize those signs and symbols, and they're not represented through the intellectual analysis of what's going on outside of us.
So you've talked about listening as a tool, as a way of using our intuition. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. So the kind of listening that I'm talking about is not the kind of listening that is about hearing sounds. It's about listening to the thing that goes above the sound, right? So you have a sense that You hear the world very differently when your intuition is on. And many of you have heard, for example, when you're, and I'll talk about auditory, because listening is auditory. So you're dealing with something, and all of a sudden you turn the radio on, and there's a song that plays, and it speaks directly to you. Put up your hand, you guys, if that's ever happened to you. Right? Yes, right? And that's a way that the universe finds a way to speak directly to you. Now, other times that song is just a pretty song, etc. But when it means something to you, that's when your intuition locks on it. And it's as if it rises above all the other sounds, right? The other way that you can use your intuition is to plan it, right? So you plan for synchronicity, and synchronicity is evidence of when you have an intuitive sense of the world, and all of a sudden this meaningful coincidence comes together, and you notice it, right? It's because intuition notices, right? It's our capacity to notice that which would be not noticeable to somebody else because it's meaningful to you. So you might see kind of like this divine coming together of elements that you didn't plan, but for you, if in that moment was life-changing. For example, if you're starting to learn about your intuition, you already have a track record with it, even if you think you're not intuitive. And I always tell people, like, make a list. You want to make a whole list of all the intuitive moments that you've had when things came together. And we do this in Oracle School, where we talk about these moments of epiphanies, or these defining moments, or these coincidences that have occurred throughout your life. Intuition enables us to tune into the spiritual world, or that world where we have a dynamic relationship with a power greater than ourselves. And I want to go back to what you said about how do we use it. And so I believe that we can use it to have a dialogue about our highest good, a dialogue about what is in the best interests of all people. You know, we don't know what that is intellectually, and certainly by our life experience and our personalities, but our higher selves know that. There is a higher consciousness of life that knows the best of all of us and the best for all of us. And so if we can learn to tap into that, and there's very simple exercises that we can do, but once we know the language, and we keep remembering, it's kind of like this brook or quiet river that flows beside us, and all of a sudden a fish jumps out. It's like, oh, we got to pay attention to that, right? And that's kind of how it is. Life is like that. That could go on for days and there's no fish. And all of a sudden, boom, there's something to pay attention to. And then if you really want to get specific and very organized around conversing with that higher power, that's where divination comes into, or oracle cards, because that is what they were created for. Specifically, this is a language of universal human experience that we're most likely, all of us, to experience in our modern world, that everybody, doesn't matter where you live on the planet or your culture or whatever, you're going to have universal experiences. The way to use intuition, of course, we all want to use our intuition for the highest good of all. And so remembering always that we're talking to the universe. Our intuition enables and facilitates a conversation that's dynamic with the universe.
So Colette, what does it mean when somebody says that they're intuitive? Like, what does intuitive mean?
So intuitive can mean a lot of things, right? So you have the people who are clairaudient, which means they hear things that come true, or they hear voices or whatever that are telling them something about something that's happening in front of them. A lot of clairaudients are mediums. You have clairsentient people who feel people's feelings, and that's a form of intuition. It's a heightened sense of empathy. So you could get empathy overload. You just know how someone is feeling, or you enter a room and everybody is feeling a certain way, but nobody's talking about it, but you might walk in and go, I know what's going on. There's that. Then you have clairvoyance, where you see snippets of the future. You have claircognizance, which most people have a level of claircognizance, which means I know. It's a knowing that we have. There's a kind of a heightened sense of the world and what's going on that is not spoken. So that is that. So an intuitive person, a person saying, I'm very intuitive, it means that they are really in tune to the invisible world and that they can navigate that pretty easily and sometimes have a little bit more trouble with the regular reality. Right? So when I've worked as an intuitive, I did readings for a living and I called myself that. But I would say if somebody says they are intuitive, they have a sense that they're tuned into the invisible world and they get information that is accurate and helpful for them.
Nice. I'm really loving this conversation. I'm going to piggyback off of my first question.
Okay.
We know how to identify signs from the universe, right? So when we are doing that, how do we know that we're trusting our intuition in that process?
Yeah, well, sometimes we don't. I think the truth is that many of us don't. Most of us don't. We don't live in a world where we're taught to trust our intuition, right? Nobody goes, we should learn that in nursery school, right? Or kindergarten. And they don't have that. So our body will tell us. And as a matter of fact, our body is the instrument of intuition. So if you are trusting it, it feels like a plunk. It just is. It's just the truth. But then we stop trusting it when we start to analyze it. And then we know because all of a sudden it goes, doot, 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 and we get into our head. So there is a moment where you just know, and that's when you can trust it. It feels a very specific way, and each person can learn how their body tells them the intuitive information. The body is always the first place it lands, always. And that's how you know you can trust it.
How do we know what isn't intuition?
Intuition is not looking for a threat. Intuition is looking for information. So if you're only got the blinders on only for a threat and you're just looking for that, then you miss out on everything else. So that's, you still have to trust your gut, because if your gut says run away, right? But typically your intuition will say turn right, or it will say that person, or it will say, pay attention, be curious. Intuition works the best with curiosity, and when it's not working is when you're in wishful thinking. That's another thing, when you're forcing your intuition to tell you that something that you want is true. And many of us have done that, right? And it's subtle too. So the intuitive arts are the arts of subtlety. They're not, it's not in your face. You have to learn something that's complex and nuanced, but you always know. Like I said to Kristen, it's plunk in your body. You just know. You have a moment of knowing. You just do. So yes, trust your gut if there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex coming to your door. But when you're really super stressed, is not the best time. I even tell people, don't use your oracle cards when you're super stressed. Meditate first. Get clear, get grounded, get curious. The only curiosity you have at your disposal when you are in a high stress moment is how to run or how to freeze, right? Freeze or run. So that is the time. That's pretty much the only time I would say is it doesn't work well for you.
Do you have any simple steps for trusting your intuition?
Okay, so we have some simple steps. And the first one is, believe it or not, know what your red flags are. So most of us don't really know ourselves that well or our bodies that well to recognize when there's a red flag flying, because in that moment we might want to date so-and-so, but it's like, no, but you're going, oh yeah, but they're so hot. Very bad, right? So if you have a red flag, it doesn't mean, yippee, that means to go. It means do not go. So that is number one. Know what your body feels like on your red flag. The other thing is, once you know what your red flags feel like, then you want to learn about how truth feels in your body. You know when something just is. Something just is. You don't think about it. You don't question it. You don't analyze it. It doesn't even come up here at all. It just sits. It sits in your belly or in your heart, or, it just is. That's very important, because that is your number one priority, to know what that feels like. Because that's when your intuition will speak to you, is through that just is, and it will rarely make sense. It won't make sense till after, then it makes sense. The other thing is that sometimes you will recognize that your intuition will steer you in a different direction than you want to go. As I mentioned that earlier. So if you have a plan, I got a plan. How many of us have had a plan, but your intuition goes, let's go there, right? And it takes you into a completely different experience, but really you're there because that's in your highest good. Intuition will always take you into your highest good, even when it steers you into learning a painful lesson. I know this to be totally true because intuition helps us heal our patterns. And sometimes if we're stubborn and we refuse to learn something, our intuition will actually be in service to our purpose, which is to reveal ourselves. And that is all about our spirituality. Intuition is a really intrinsic part of our spirituality and the purpose of being here on this planet. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And then, this is the hardest one, but it's the one that is juicy because you have to know the moment your analytical mind takes over. And it always feels like, ah. And then this is the moment when you look back on it and go, I knew it. I should have done this. Put up your hand if you've ever felt like that. I knew it. I should have done this. Right, exactly, right? These things that I'm telling you to pay attention to will always be the same in you. They will be identical every time. So get to know yourself. And then when in doubt, pull an oracle card. That is what these are made for. And oracle cards are so incredible because the purpose of them is to keep you absolutely at the intuition gym, keeping a line open to the universe. When you open your connection to the universe, anything becomes possible, and you have a ready-made friend right here. If you're in doubt, your intuition said this, like, is this correct? What do I need to know about this situation that my intuition says X about? And then you're going to know, it'll be reflective right back at you and say, you're trying to force something, or it'll say, yeah, you're totally on track, and this is what we reflect back to you. So these are so many tools. We have so much at our disposal right now, at our fingertips, to help us learn about how to use our intuition.
So you said when in doubt, pull an oracle card. And I was just curious, for people that are maybe new to oracle cards or trying to trust their intuition, which deck out of your decks do you recommend?
As a matter of fact, yes. I created this particular deck called Wisdom of the Oracle. This is the one out of the 15 that I have and counting, that speaks directly to a number of subjects that people would want to know about. So for a person that's new and that wants to use an oracle to help, it's like an intuition gym, as I've said before, right? They want to exercise their intuition. This is the one that I recommend. So for example, you might have a question about a relationship, or we have a relationship section on every single card, or a prosperity section on every single card, or a protection message. So you really get very, very detailed information here on this deck, and it's so accurate. So I think this is the one that people will, and we've sold 250,000 of these worldwide now. So we know that this deck works and that people love it, especially new people, and also people who are more sophisticated love it too. So I would say this one. Okay, thanks guys, my fabulous team. Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation, and I'll see you soon.